But for now, we're just going to focus on the SSP. So Scott, how important is the system security plan?
Well, Maddie, the system security plan is really the centerpiece, if you will, of your security program. And it is a mandatory document. It's actually in one of the controls from NIST 800-171. Rick could probably quote the number. I can't quote the number, but I know it's one of the mandatory controls that have to be in place to show compliance. And it explains how the company is meeting each of those individual 110 requirements. So in a sense, it's 110 short sections that each explains what's in place, and if it's not in place, it explains what you're doing about it. So it also helps kind of create an inventory of security controls so that you don't overlook something. You can kind of gauge your progress. You can also demonstrate to the DoD what your progress is through the SPRS score, which we've talked about in previous sessions, which the SPRS score is nothing more than a rating of how well you're doing in implementing all the 110 requirements. But your SSP is an internal document that explains each of the controls and how it's being deployed within your organization. Now, so in that regard, it can serve as like a roadmap or a game plan. Now it's almost football season, so now I'm thinking game plan. But it kind of allows you to check your progress, and that way you can be sure that you're well prepared, when an assessment might need to occur. Now, there's one other piece to mention. In the NIST 800-171 standard, there is a section, it's in the early part of the document, forgot what page number it is, but it says that the DoD, the government, reserves the right to request a copy of your SSP. So it's another one of those subtle components of compliance that if you have a DoD contract today and you handle CY, then those DFARS clauses that Rick mentioned will be in your contract. So just kind of follow the chain of events here. If the DFARS clauses are in there, the DFARS 252, 204, 7012, the first one that Rick mentioned, specifically says you need to be in compliance with NIST 800-171, kind of just reviewing what we said. So if all of that is true, you're committing, by accepting that DoD contract, you're committing to stay in compliance. So you're committing to put these things in place. You're stating by signing that contract that you are implementing, you have an SSP, it's on file, it's current, and it's available if requested. Why do I say all that? Because if you just put those pieces together, you realize that while the assessments haven't begun for CMMC, DFARS is the law of the land. And those regulations do govern the way government contracts work. And there's a number of things that the DoD is doing to encourage compliance. Encourage, is that the right word? But it is important today, even though the certification audit assessments aren't available. That doesn't make it less urgent or less important for us to protect CUI for the safety of our nation, for the safety of our warfighters. All that information is sensitive, and therefore, as a part of the DIB, the Defense Industrial Base, and we're committing to protect that information. Part of that, I'd even say one of the starting points of that is to develop a system security plan, because otherwise you're treating it as a set of generalities. You aren't really looking at the specifics, I would argue. You aren't really coming up with a game plan in detail. You aren't holding yourself accountable to implement those controls. And the SSP instills a set of discipline, or Rick used the word accountability, it's a great word, that we need to have internally, especially if you're in senior management. You need to be thinking about, how am I going to make sure that my company is meeting these contractual requirements? Well, the SSP is the place to start, because now you have a documented plan, system security plan, for how, what do you have in place, what you don't have in place, and when you're going to have it in place. And so it's absolutely the foundation for the whole approach to being in compliance. So if you haven't thought about SSP, I guess you are today because you signed up for this webinar. We're going to think about it for you and bring you guys along in helping you understand how to really address this particular important document. Thank you for watching this video to the end. This is part of a longer series on DFARS, NIST, and CMMC compliance produced by Core Business Solutions. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video with a thumbs up, and click the bell to get notified when we drop a new video. Also, we'd appreciate it if you would share this video with your colleagues who need to stay up to speed on DFARS, NIST, and CMMC. Thank you, and we'll see you again in the next video.